I would love to get some of the members of Parliament into an ECE for a day.
Yes.
Put them on the floor.
Yes.
Make them work a 1-to-10 ratio.
Yes. Yeah.
Welcome to Focus Focus. Voices leading change.
We're on. We're live. Kia ora, everyone. We are here with Courtney. How are you?
Good.
Your hair looks fantastic.
Thank you.
For this. Our Courtney's actually quite famous at one of our staff functions for her singing voice, and we did a bit of a karaoke that night, and I think that's gone down as a bit of a legendary move from you. But look, I think it's fair to say we were lucky to, in the acquisition of Above and Beyond, we were lucky to pick up great staff, you being one of them, in that space, and we're really appreciative of the efforts that you've now built in what is a really amazing centre with Terrace Views, and it's really cool to sit down and have a chat.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so I think let's go back a little bit. So who's at home with you? Talk about Charlie and that, and just your little family unit, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, cool. So it's me, my 9-year-old Theo, and Charlie. He's 3.
Theo's at what school?
He's at Timanua.
Yes, Timanua. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And Charlie's down at Boulevard, and so Theo will be back at school now, is he?
Yes. Yeah. He went back yesterday.
Yep.
Very excited.
Yep.
I tried to get a photo of him in front of the school, and he turned around and walked away. And he was going,
perfect.
nope.
Perfect.
So he is officially a senior now. So
far out.
Acting like a senior.
Yeah. And where are you originally from, actually?
I'm from Whanganui.
Ah, nice. Yeah. No, River Girl. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. What school did you go to down there?
I went to Whanganui High School.
Oh yeah. I've got some pretty good mates down in there. It's a real interesting town, that one, eh? It's like obviously with the collegiate down there and all sorts. It's quite a interesting space, isn't it? Yeah, I've got a couple of mates down there that own a gym, but oh wow. And how long have you been teaching?
I got my Bachelor of Teaching in 2018. So my first year of teaching was 2019.
Yes.
And so I originally started teaching in primary school.
Yes. Yep.
And moved around a little bit, and then did some relieving, had a baby, and then decided that ECE was more suited for me.
Yep.
And my whānau.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the suitability about it? What's that about in terms of the suitability? What was it? Because was Charlie born in that time, obviously?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I went back to work when Charlie was 4 months old.
Yes.
And for me, it was, I'm going to spend either 10 hours away from him.
Yes.
Or 10 hours potentially in the same building.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of home pressure. Well, I felt a lot of home pressure with primary school teaching.
Yes.
There's almost an unspoken expectation that you have to do work in the weekend to be ready for a Monday. And I was like, if I'm going to spend the whole week away from my baby, I was like, I'm not going to put that pressure on myself.
I think it's good that you bring that up, because I think sometimes in early learning we think that primary is the natural progression for us to head to, but the reality, what I love about ECE is that you can come in and then go home. That's it. It depends how good of primary teacher you want to be, but I always worked Sundays, and I worked a full day Sunday at school, and like Cortez, my boy, I'd drag him along, and I would have to, but I wanted to be great for kids. But yes, you get holidays, I guess, but you got to work. You got to work, and the workload is very heavy. Yeah, marking and all that. It's a heavy workload.
Yep.
And so you've been here, obviously, prior to us coming in, but what have you seen go on in the last, we're nearly 2 years in April, I guess, because you've been part of that real turnaround in this space, which has been amazing. What have you seen? What have you enjoyed? What's been interesting to you?
I really enjoyed having hands-on owners.
Yep.
And people who we see all the time. I think also our social media presence is a lot more and a lot better. Mm-hmm. And we have parents come in and like talking about, oh my gosh, I saw this activity was set up yesterday. Did my child get involved? And we're like, your kid loves that. So it's cool that the parents get to see more
what
of
we're
what's
up to.
happening.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, the expectations of our provocations is so much higher.
Yes.
And we've seen that lately with some of the provocations being set up and how good they are and how they get the kids involved and they follow on from their learning from the day before, which I think is really, really good. I can't wait to see.
But there's a very heavy enthusiasm here, though. Yeah. Like there is the enthusiasm throughout TV and supported by yourself, and you got Heather and the crew. It's just, look at Amy's integration into there's just such an enthusiasm here for learning.
Yeah.
Like I've just seen you out there. People won't know, but hit me with your best shot was it what was playing out there? And I see Courtney's out there dancing with Eliana, and you guys are literally full swing dancing out there, and that enthusiasm that you guys carry is very infectious. I think, and the kids love it, right? Yeah, the kids love it. So let's go into because you're quite learned. You just finished the masters. Tell us about what it was in, who, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I studied through NZTC, and I did my postgraduate diploma in ECE, and I was kind of got near to the end of my postgrad, and I thought I'm just want to keep going. Like I love learning, and so the next step was my masters, and it kind of scared me a little bit being full-time single mum, full-time working.
Yes.
But I love a challenge.
Yes.
And so I did that. I did some leadership papers, and so I finished that in November last year.
Yep. And how did you manage that? Because you've just explained it. You're a single mum working. What were you doing? What did that look like?
I still don't know how I did it.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect.
So all throughout, people were like, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Like, I'm not going to think about it now. I'm not.
Yes.
If I think about it too much, and if I think about the workload and everything, then I think I would probably talk myself out of it."
Right.
And I was getting really good marks.
Yes,
like
you were. I remember you sharing, yeah.
And all that. My final assignment, I got a resubmit.
Yep.
And I was like, I just felt like I'd failed.
Yes.
The whole thing.
Yep.
And I think if it wasn't for Ashley and my team here, I would have gone
kaput.
Right down. But they encouraged me. I looked at the feedback, I did the assignment, and I got like an excellence.
Yeah, wow.
And so I think that's where it's not just like study and work, it's all integrated. Yeah.
And it's been cool to, I know I've pitched some ideas because I know there's some real gaps in our sector in terms of where we need excellence coming through, but also the experience. And, it's actually listening to academics that have actually recently been in the space that they're commenting on. I know at that level what your leadership and master's space opens up is there's a lot of opportunity coming for that conversation to be going down in those spaces. So academic or leadership, talk to us in that. What was it were you seeking out something? Did something fascinate you in that space? Was there a bit of a drive or compulsion around things? What did that look like?
To start with, it was I always felt like because I was primary trained that I was like imposter syndrome.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. Do I belong here? Am I filling in a space? Am I? Can I even talk to ECE? Like when I'm writing the learning stories and going through Te Whāriki, I know my stuff, but it also felt like I didn't officially study it. So can I talk about it?
Yes.
And I think from there it went. I did papers. I did an arts paper, which we joke about here quite often. If we have to do anything artistic, everyone's like, "Oh, Courtney's got an arts paper. Let's get her to do it." But then I did an ethics paper and just going into like children's rights. And I know Shay did a mat time yesterday about children's rights.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Incredible. And I was like, man, I just studied that. And to see other teachers actually care about that.
So talking about that in that ethics space, so what you're talking to is that you then built links in that ECE space through your study that you're now seeing translated in the rooms and in action.
Yeah.
So when you saw that ethics piece, what in the academia is it saying in terms of the importance of that? What's the findings so far?
It's quite interesting because we did a lot of research into like the basic needs or the basic rights of children, and it's having access to education and access to water
like
and
a
food
Maslow's.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's and then seeing in ECE we see kids showing up without breakfast, or they potentially haven't eaten since they ate at daycare the day before. And knowing that there's these basic rights that aren't being met, and it's families are struggling.
Yep.
And I think we've got our kai pantry in the foyer. I think we're almost trying to bridge that gap between what's a child's rights and what are they actually getting.
Is leadership, do you think, in ECE in the sector? I'm not meaning us, but I think we certainly should be always analysing ourselves. Is leadership allowing us to actually meet those basic needs? Do you think that's currently going on across the landscape in early learning?
I don't think so. Not across. I know here we're doing a lot, but there's also there's time constraints, and there's I wanted to bring morning tea earlier so that the ones who did show up without food aren't waiting until 9:30.
They're getting something in their gut. Yeah.
But I know that there's other places where it's very strict. Like, this is the time we eat.
Yes.
So I think flexibility. There needs to be more flexibility, I think.
And I guess that's the beauty of what we're trying to build, is to still give people the autonomy to make those decisions if we realise and recognise someone's, I remember when I was working in Rewa, the breakfast club wasn't very successful because at intermediate age there's a stigma.
Yeah.
It's like, I am starving, but if I go in there, I'm the poor kid, and that was actually a very real challenge. And we had to, we just started eating in there.
Yeah.
We just started eating breakfast in there with them because they weren't going to turn around and say, oh, yeah, Mr. Everest's poor too. And, there was a real stigma, and you had to be creative about, so even though maybe 20 of us are in there or 15 of us are in there, the real need was actually only 5 of the 15. But it broke down that window, and Ian gave a bit of autonomy around letting that sort of stuff happen. Yeah, you can see through the study of leadership that we still have a long way to go. That's hard for me to say, but also it drives me into what we're trying to do. Yeah. For your own leadership journey, what does it look like coming into the future for Courtney? What does this look like in 2, 3, 5 years potentially?
I think through my studies realised that there's a lot of legislation and rules that need to be changed in order for us to make change.
Yes.
So I think wherever I end up, I would like to have some kind of say, whether it's local government, higher up. I would like not just my voice to be heard, but other leaders to be able to stand up. I think it's a scary thing when you want to point out a problem or when you've got a solution, because I prefer to come to a problem with a solution
based, yes,
rather than here's a problem, what are you going to do about it?
Yes.
Here's a problem, here's how we can fix it, can we work together?
Which that is very true and real about you. You generally, if you're presenting something, you've got the solution or certainly some sort of pathway forward. But that's not common, right?
No.
Yeah, and that's what we appreciate about you. Is at least you turn up with a hey, let's try this too. I think, even when we were doing kaimahi here, you were into it, but you were like, oh, but right now I think this is where I sit. You were very transparent about that. That's what we need to encourage more of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're talking about a conversation regularly about problems and solutions. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
What do you think it looks like at a local level or at a, you're talking about maybe it's local governmental level or local ministry level. What do you think that voice needs to be saying?
I think one of the big things in ECE is the ratios.
Yes.
And we do our best with what we have, but if the government's not going to fund for better ratios, it makes no sense, like financially. If you've got to pay an extra teacher, but you're not getting the funding for that teacher, from this level, I can understand that. I would love to get some of the members of parliament into an ECE for a day.
Yes.
Put them on the floor.
Yes.
Make them work a 1-to-10 ratio.
Yes. Yeah.
And show them, like this morning, we've had a few really upset kids where they need one teacher to give them a hug. Yeah. So that one teacher is in charge of that child that is on them.
Yes.
Plus those 9 that are running around.
Yes, that's a big ask, man. That is a big ask. And I know we work hard as an organisation to keep those ratios down as much as we can. And that's always going to be our fight. And I know people like Blue Cottage and Bloom and New Shoots, they're all in the same fight. I think in that space, there's got to come a point in time where communities actually realise that we are educating children. Yeah. That we're not babysitters. We're not just childminders. We're actually working with your child to help them socially and emotionally grow and develop.
Yeah.
And number one, we're never going to just leave a child to just sit there and scream. It just doesn't work with us.
No.
We want to sit down and have them sit on our lap, but we also have to maintain that balance of trying to meet the needs of the other 9, like you say. It is a very severe challenge in ECE. Interestingly, also though, it goes out the window when they go to primary. That's always the fascinating thing to me. My first year teaching, I had 32 5-year-olds. I had to teach them to swim. I don't know how many times I've said this on this podcast. I had to teach them to swim. Yeah. Me, with 32 5-year-olds, and that quality piece is just so important, and that is a very big hurdle to get across, right? So also with your own leadership journey, because you did some study around other things in there. Is it policy work in the future for you? Are you trying to pull some of that apart? What do you think it looks like in that space of academia? Is it more research on your end? What are you thinking?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's the research into why are the policies the way they are? Because there's reasons behind. Prior to the policies, there was nothing.
Yes.
So you potentially could have an ECS centre with 2 teachers and 400 children.
Yes.
Realistically, they have been put into place so that these, bad
operators
environment, they have to now follow these rules. Yes. But these rules no longer make sense in our day and age. We've got kids with a lot of learning needs, a lot of emotional needs, now that you're in either a 1-parent household or a 2-parent household and everyone's working, we see our kids here longer than the parents do. Yeah,
we get 50 hours a week with some children.
Yeah. They get chopped off when we open, and
if you add in sleeping, we as a pure metric, we see the child more in awake time than their parents do, and this is the argument, right? We're trying to say. This is why we are actually educators. We have major sway and influence over how those children, and I'm lucky. I've been able to, we just said goodbye to George, who's one of our kids we had since he was 5 months, and man, we've been through a wild ride with him in terms of we've learned so much from him. We got a lot of insight into him, and we feel privileged that we had that time with him. And then I got to do his mat time, which was really special for me. But you're right. It's the maths is in our favour to do great things. Yeah. If it was funded appropriately, imagine how much more good we can do. Yeah. Trying to think of his name, is it Heckman? John Heckman. He is an economist, and in 2000 he won a Nobel laureate prize because he came out and said for every $1 invested in early childhood learning is $7 added to the economy in the future. That was the maths based on, and he's not an early childhood teacher. He's just a pure economist, and that's what I mean. If I could say to you, every $1 you spend in it, and you're going to get $7 in return, that's a huge.
Oh yeah, you would invest.
100% you would, 100%. But without people like yourself who not only just, you know, where I admire you is you're not just content to just sit in now. You know, you've already talked about leaving primary and going into there and making some deliberate change, but you're actually not content to just, all right, I'm just going to turn up for 40 hours a week and that's it. You actually want to turn up and make a bloody difference, which is why I admire you and why I'm stoked to finally have you on there. What does it look like for you in the study realm? Because that's where I'm interested for you. What do you think? What are you thinking? Let's get it on video.
Oh, God. And then I have to do it. As scary as it sounds, I'd love to do my doctorate.
Yes.
I would love to do some like proper research and dive into something. I don't know what that is yet.
Yep.
But once you've got your doctorate, this may sound big-headed, but once you've got your doctorate, people listen to you.
No, it's the truth.
People will then listen to what I have to say based on what I've researched.
Yes.
And then, I don't know, I just feel like I could make such a big difference that way.
Yeah. You could be the first PhD within Future Focus.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I'd then be a Dr. Courtney.
Dr. Courtney. Yeah. I think that's your natural pathway, and this is me sharing this with you in terms of pure aspiration, me living my dreams through you maybe. But you've got the nous to do it, and I think talking to you, knowing and understand your desire for change based on actually real facts, not just like, because I work here, you know, you're actually looking for quantitative evidence that allows that sort of conversation to be met with a bit of mana. That's what you were talking about, right? With the doctorate behind you, that raises that level of mana. Or 25 years in the sector, right?
Yeah.
I think it's certainly your natural progression. Okay, mate, let's wrap it up there. We're getting it on video because I think that's where I would love to see you go down that realm, and I would love to see you leave Future Focus to go out and do those great things. But of course, we want to be able to use you as a resource. But, you know, I think that's where I think coming from a space where you've actually come off the floor and you've gone through the process, you haven't studied something random and then gone into this, you've actually worked your way through, you would be a massively invaluable resource.
Thanks.
So we need to get you into that. But Courtney, we appreciate all that you do for us. We love your energy, we love your transparency, and your willingness to come in and talk and have a conversation. So we look forward to seeing your future growth.
Same.
Yeah. Thank you very much, mate.